Thanks for joining us at noon today. I'm Dustin Grove here with Sean Ash. Another warm fall afternoon.
Yes, we're about a week out, partner.
Okay.
We're going to have a nice little fall front come through, but in between now and then, we are pretty much the same weather.
Summer sizzling. Summer
sizzle. Yeah, let's show you what's going on here around central Indiana at this hour. More sunshine and more warmer than average temps, and that means folks with outdoor plans are loving it. Got some golfing going on here at the country club over in Indy there in the western side of Marion County. Just a few high-level clouds today. Not going to slow us down. We're going to be right back into the 80s once again. And here you go. We're already at 74. Dew points in the 50s. So the humidity's at 48%. That's why we're still getting those cool, comfortable mornings and the warmer than average afternoon here as we've got this thing pretty much same weather pattern going into the weekend. 78 this hour, Terre Haute, 73 in Richmond. There's the relatively dry air, and those numbers will continue to drop. So it's definitely a dry heat. We've noticed, and as expected, just a little bit of high cloud cover, not a whole lot. And as we look out to the west, no big weather players right now in the central part, in the northern part of the country here. So let's get you your high temperatures for today. Very similar to yesterday. Terre Haute, not far from 90. The majority of us will be in the middle 80s here. So it's going to be warm again. If you've got after school sports, expect that sunshine to continue. We got to talk about a temperature tumble and at least a little hope of rain in the 7-day forecast here in a few minutes.
All right, to the headlines now. A 25-year-old man is dead after a crash on 465 in Marion County. This is in the near northwest side. We know he was heading south near the East 71st Street exit. I want to show you what the scene looked like. This was moments after the crash. The Marion County Coroner's Office has identified him as William Scott II. We know multiple vehicles were involved in this crash, which shut down that stretch of highway for more than an hour. We don't know yet what caused that crash. We've also learned new details about a police chase that ended in a deadly crash in Johnson County. Metro Police say a detective near 21st and Emerson saw a known aggravated assault suspect drive by. They asked for other officers in the area to pull the driver over, but they kept going. Eventually, the driver went off the road near the Indiana 44 exit, which is in Franklin. The truck then hit a concrete culvert and went airborne before landing in a ditch and catching fire. The driver died at the scene. The coroner's office identified him as 30-year-old Marco Morales. No one else was in the truck. IMPD's Internal Affairs is now taking over the investigation to be sure officers follow department policies, which is standard procedure in a police chase like this. A mother charged in the death of her 2-year-old son will not be able to have unsupervised contact with her daughter. Investigators say Kiara Bickett's son died in June after he shot himself with her gun. She was charged with neglect back in August. A judge denied her request for unsupervised visits with her 9-year-old daughter because the girl is a witness in the case. Bickett is allowed supervised contact, though. She's expected back in court next month. Also in the courtroom next month, the Marion County judge will sentence a man for a murder on Thanksgiving Day back in 2023. A jury found Ephraim Edmondson guilty after a 2-day trial. He was charged with murder, possession of a firearm by a serious violent felon, and residential entry for that shooting. It happened at a courtyard in an apartment complex near 10th and Shadeland. Usman Gassama died in the shooting. After several interviews, investigators say several people told them the two had been involved in an ongoing feud. Police say Edmondson later admitted to the shooting, saying they were arguing and fighting before he shot the victim. Johnson County Coroner Mike Pruitt returned to the office this week as state police investigate allegations he stalked a 17-year-old girl. His return prompted a mass exit from his staff. 5 deputy coroners quit, including the former chief deputy, Derek Wilson. Wilson says his resignation was a difficult yet necessary one. Another deputy coroner, Lydia Griffiths, wrote in her resignation she, quote, cannot ethically continue working in that office. Now, it's important to note Pruitt is not currently charged with any crime. Pruitt says his office still has 8 deputy coroners, 1 full-time administrative deputy coroner, and himself. You can read his full statement and statements from former deputies right now. We've got it all posted for you at WTHR.com. Governor Mike Braun is speaking on the state's plan to house ICE detainees at an Indiana state prison. Officials with the Department of Correction confirmed that Miami Correctional Facility up there in Miami County received 15 detainees yesterday. DOC says it could house as many as 100 by the end of the week. Governor Braun had this to say when asked about recent gatherings by faith leaders opposed to the plans to house these detainees.
When it comes down to the humanity of dealing with anyone that has issues, especially as it relates to asylum, that would cross almost all faith, that you need to help. That doesn't mean you have open borders. That doesn't mean you don't hold accountable folks that game the system. It'd be that simple.
The state plans to charge the federal government $291 a day for each ICE detainee it holds. A century-old abandoned church in Indianapolis will not be torn down. That decision coming from the city's Preservation Commission. Holy Cross Catholic Church closed about a decade ago. Today, it's fenced off, as you can see right there, boarded up and deemed unsafe to enter. Parish leaders at St. Philip Neri say they've spent about $80,000 in the last year alone to keep that site secure. But neighbors say the church is more than just a building, and demolition is not the only answer.
It is the memories of those who grew up within its walls. It is the soul and symbol of the neighborhood that surrounds it and which bears its name.
This is a continued infringement on St. Philip Neri Parish's religious liberty, and we don't think the city should insert itself into church's prayerful discernment about how to steward its own property.
So the debate continues. St. Philip Neri leaders say restoring that church could cost as much as $8.5 million. They say the property's worth about $1 million. Here's a big talker right now. INDOT taking steps to enhance US 31. It's called the Level Up 31 project. It'll take place between Indy and Hamilton County, a very busy and often congested area. You know that if you drive through there. Brandon Schaff is digging into the improvements on that stretch.
Phase 1 of Level Up 31 begins on Monday. It's an effort by INDOT to improve capacity and safety on US 31. According to INDOT, more than 112,000 vehicles are forecasted to travel on the roadway daily in 2025.
A lot of people in Hamilton County work in Indianapolis, and getting there isn't necessarily a problem right now. It's the getting home and heading north from 465 north on 31.
During Phase 1 of construction, there will be several closures. They include the eastbound I-465 ramp to southbound Meridian Street, the southbound US 31 ramp to 106th Street, and eastbound 106th Street at US 31. These closures are all expected to last until the end of the year.
INDOT has projections for how many drivers go back and forth on this well-traveled corridor, and in 2025, those projections already surpassed what they had originally projected for 2035.
Even though we forecasted for a lot of growth, it was beyond our forecast, and we couldn't even predict just how fast Hamilton County's grown, so that now has a need for more efficiency and more safety on 31.
To address those needs, INDOT will expand eastbound and westbound ramps from I-465 to US 31 from 1 to 2 lanes. They'll also add a lane to US 31 northbound from I-465 to 116th Street. Hamilton County Commissioner Christine Altman says that this is an important project considering Westfield and Carmel's rapid population growth in the last decade. Each city increased by almost 60% and 13% respectively. But with growth comes growing pains for the thousands of drivers that will continue commuting on US 31 throughout construction.
It's going to be painful. There's no way around it. If they don't do it now, we'll be behind the curve significantly in the next upcoming 10 years.
Altman added patience will be crucial as people learn to get around the area.
A deep breath and a little grace goes a long way, both for yourself, because you'll be confused, but those other people that maybe don't drive it all the time.
Brandon Schaff, 13 News.
Good reminder there. People in Morgan County are invited to a roundtable event taking place today. It centers on the debate over data centers. It follows a vote earlier this week on a proposed center in that area in particular. The Plan Commission approved rezoning an additional 158 acres for the project, despite pushback from some people in the community. Now, people can ask government leaders questions during tonight's discussion. It's happening at the Monrovia Festival building at 6:30. That meeting comes as plans for a massive Google data center are officially off the table in Marion County. Representatives for the company withdrew the petition. They announced plans to do so before a critical vote by the City County Council last week. The company could re-petition for the rezoning, though, after 3 months.